This episode, how to put an extra $50 in your pocket. Now there's an episode for you, baby. All right, folks, Johnny's been working hard this winter, and in his endeavors, he has figured out, no, he hasn't figured out, but he's been making a couple of add-on sales, helping some people with their door seals, because folks, I hate to break it to you, here in the South, nobody really thinks about it until Johnny takes out his infrared thermometer and scans the door, and they all say, gosh, I've been feeling it be cold over there for about, 10 years. So John's been carrying some extra door seals. Anyway, with that, we wanted to have a discussion about value-added services. Welcome to the Handyman Pros radio show. Home improvement and maintenance tips from the pros. Thanks for listening to another edition of the Handyman Pros radio show, where our goal is to help save you time, money, and aggravation on your home maintenance and repair. This episode is entitled, How to Put an Extra $50 in Your Pocket. And to help me explain is my old buddy, John. John, talk to me, baby. Talk to me.
Yes, sir. Well, this comes from my own experience in my own house, right? And, if you feel around your doors, right, it gets pretty uncomfortable after, the years creep up on you and the door seals get, cracked and old and stiff and that whole bit,
Sounds like my body.
Like me.
Johnny.
So
I was going to say, it sounds like my body, yeah. Old, cracked, and stiff.
And, so I just started carrying some of these door seals, which are real easy. Now, I'm not talking about taking the door off and putting another one on the bottom of the door. I'm just talking about the ones around the top and the sides.
Yep.
And it's just, it's easy to do. It's quick. And, since you're at a customer site and, you can just feel around the door, or, I take my thermometer and I can scan the room real quick.
Right.
And you can find all the cold spots. And
So this is just I just want to step back and say that we're talking about value-added services. So this is largely aimed at handymen, but it's also aimed at homeowners as well. So if your handyman says, hey, just like John does, hey, you've got a pretty substantial leak around your doors, and when people can feel it with their hand, obviously it's pretty bad. When you can feel the temperature differential, this extra service that John's quote selling is of advantage to the homeowner as well. They're going to save money, right, John?
Oh, well, think about it. For whatever you might charge for a service like this, that might take you 10 minutes to do, or whatever it might be. What's the comfort factor and the heating factor, that goes along with it.
And cooling as well.
And it usually, that if your house is really going to leak some air, that's a pretty quick fix right there. It's usually going to be around the door seals.
Yeah, it's usually going to be around where there's a big hole in the side of the house.
The side of your house. Right.
Which means windows and doors.
Right.
But the door is a big one because it gets used every single day, all the time. So also, I just want to talk about math too. So folks, if you're a business person, I worked in the vending industry, as you all know, if you've listened to the show for a while, I've worked in the vending industry for a long time. And in the vending business, we like to get an extra 3 cents per bag, because that meant per bag of chips. Because at the time that I was doing vending, that was the total profit that you got, was 3 cents. And you had to sell a lot of extras to get any substantial amount of money. But I just was going to do the quick math. If you were to add an additional $50 to your revenue and hopefully net profit, and we're not going to get into that, but if you added an extra $50 a week, once a week, if you do this once a week, that's $2,500 a year times 50 weeks in the year. It's $2,500. To me, that's a pretty good substantial ad. I mean, that's like $2,500. It's like, hey, whoa.
Yeah, and Larry's taking out the 2 weeks for vacation.
Of course, I'm taking out the 2 weeks for vacation. Well, duh. In fact, that $2,500 could pay for your vacation.
And that's a good point. If I'll ask you, Larry. I mean, what does an extra $50 mean? Just
Here's the situation, right? This is how it works. On a weekly basis, who cares, right? If you think about it,
Well, to me, I'll answer my own question, because if I get an extra $50, that means, hey, that's going to really help pay for a dinner or, or something,
Your bar bill.
your bar bill. Yeah, exactly. I mean, there you are, right? Think of it in terms of like a something like that, right? And you go out and it's, hey, I'm right there. Yeah. And in this case,
anyway,
right. And we're talking about, just adding a bunch of door seals to your car, just throwing them in there, your truck,
Well, it's so how many other services, I guess one of the things that we wanted to say, there's lots of services that can bring value to your customers that are oftentimes overlooked. And lots of times they won't come within the person's quote to-do list or in the job list, right? And I guess it gets down to our philosophy of being a trusted advisor and things like that. If you give people advice, you can make the suggestion. They can always say no. You're not shoving it down their throat, right?
Right.
But there's so many of these little services that you can do. And some of them are as simple as like if you walk into a room and the door doesn't quite latch properly, right? And you can look at it and say, this is either as simple as tightening up the screws on the hinges, or maybe it's resetting the door seals or anything like that. I use that because I did that for a customer one time and the guy went through the roof. He was like, I've been fighting this for 20 years, But there's just so many of these little extra services that you can do that are value adds that are beneficial to the customer, and they're beneficial in large ways, both, as John said, for comfort. There's a financial component to some of it. I mean, there's just so many different things, and people, I know I do, I often overlook a lot of these things. It's like, oh, I've been doing it this way forever, it's really not that big a deal. Well, it's not, but when it's right, it's really nice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So John, do you have any ideas of anything else?
Yes. Well, we've mentioned this before, and that's, loose electrical outlets. Not only just the dangerous component of it, but, it's a pain in the butt. You're always fighting those things. Doorknobs are notorious for getting loose.
Yep. Doorknobs are really notorious for that.
I will say that, folks, if you come up against the doorknobs that have a shield like on both sides of them, or a cover, just learn how to take the doorknob off.
Yeah, don't force a doorknob off. Yes, to that point,
because there's a little latch underneath the thing, so you can look that up on YouTube. I won't tell you. But
I was just going to say, look it up on YouTube. If you can't figure out how to get it off, look it up on YouTube. It's there.
So it's relatively simple, but it's those kind of things. When you walk around the house, if you're just kind of looking at things as you're doing your other job, hey. You know what? There might be a couple of things here that I can add some value to, and it's good for me, good for you.
Yeah, and there's just keep your eyes open all the time, and just do that kind of that mental checklist, I guess, is what I would say. If you're going through around the house, you might see things that they either don't see or they overlook.
Right, and it's always the obvious, right? That you never really know as living in the home, right? But I like your example of, let's say, a door that's closing, or it's opening by itself, or something like that, and maybe it is the hinges. Maybe it's as simple as the old carpenter trick of bending the hinge pin just a little bit and putting it back in there, and then it stops, and everybody's like, "Holy mackerel, this is great!" It takes you all of 2 seconds to do that.
That's one I don't charge for, but that's a me thing.
Well, exactly. But there's there's other things that you're looking around for things like that. Hey, the toilets that are running, it's the classic. And honestly, instead of rebuilding the whole toilet, sometimes it might just be an old flapper valve or something, So here's my point. It's kind of the components that you don't have to go run back out
to go buy,
but it's things that that are easy to take with you and store in your truck, like door seals, or some, maybe buy about 3 flapper valves just for the heck of it,
or a whole toilet repair kit,
or the whole thing. But it's those little things, so you don't have to run back out. But it's it's like, hey, I can get these things. I can get these things done for you right now since I'm there. And you're going to know your own time frame to do this. Right. And I'm talking to homeowners too. I mean, you can if you're looking around at things, but if to me, to do the toilet doesn't take very long. To do the hinges doesn't take very long. But you start to kind of calculate that in your head, what it's worth, and you can make some extra money at it. Why
Yeah, the
not?
big, I really like your point there about, you do carry some inventory and these are the things like you think about what's a common thing that you do like toilet rebuild kits. I mean, I carry them
Hmm.
because to your point again, they don't take up much space and you're not putting out thousands of dollars. They're like in today's world, they're about $30, but gosh, and here's the payoff, right? Driving to Home Depot, I don't care where
That
the
exact
big box store, from wherever you are in your
bingo.
job site, unless it's right next door. And even then, that $30 is nothing compared to your drive time and your wasted time of going into the store to get it, right? Same thing with door seals. Door seals are not terribly expensive. They're, what are they, $15 or something like that? Maybe 20. I guess if
Oh
you get the
no, no, no,
premium,
no, no.
premium ones are
No,
expensive.
you can get them for, well, the premium ones. You can get them for like $8 a stick.
Yeah.
You know,
You,
and,
you
and
need
and a
three
lot of
sticks.
people don't know how to put them on, and they're relatively simple to put on. You just rip them
Correct.
out with a pair of pliers
Yeah.
and push them back in the channel. But to your point is, as soon as you enter, and I'll talk to all the my electrician and plumber friends out there. I mean, if you have to go and you have to get something special that you don't have on your truck, you know that the electrical and plumbing is way in the back of those big box stores.
Yeah.
And how much time does it take for you to pull into the parking lot, walk into the store? Usually you have to park way the hell, at the McDonald's across the street, go across the street, walk, the whole thing, and then walk through that massive store to get something. If you're
And
not
that's
going
provided you have the app that tells you what aisle to go to.
exactly, unless you're going to your local supply house, but then
Right.
they're not as, we're talking about, stuff that's, not,
They're still not, you're still going to spend a huge amount of
yeah.
time.
Yeah,
You're going to
because you're
spend
going
a
to bump
huge
into all
amount of
your
time.
other plumber friends in your local supply house, and then you're going to
Doesn't
start
even matter.
yakking. So
Just the time it takes for them to walk to the back and get the product, bring it back out to you. By the time you pay, but even if you're on account, you have to sign something. It's just on and on and on. It's a time
yeah,
sucker.
yeah.
It just sucks the
So
life out of you.
so that's why I was thinking about these door seals when I go in and just buy little stuff like that, which doesn't cost, which to your point doesn't cost a whole lot. And you just keep it around. It doesn't take up any space, doesn't cost a whole lot, but it really pays off for working with your customer.
Yeah, there's another one that I do too. If people ask me, and generally it's if they ask me, but if I see it, it's a problem. So I have a dryer vent cleaning kit, right? It's basically a brush on
So
a long rod, and I keep that in the truck because if I see it and it looks really bad, hey, it's a fire hazard and so forth and so on, which is true. And so it's not. I mean, it is. It's the seventh reason for house fires in the country. So we'll do that if we need to. That's an add-on sale that brings you a little bit of money. There's all kinds of things that you can do that just bring you that extra $50, and it's $50 here, $50 there, and the next thing you know, you've got some
yeah,
got some serious money from the business side, and your customers are really benefiting from a lot of these things, from most of these things. Speaking of toilet flapper valves, that water running all the time, dude, that
oh
adds up.
yeah,
That's $20 a month.
oh
Like
yeah,
people don't realize that. That's $20 a month. And you stop it, and lo and behold, now you've saved them $40 in the first 2 months. So that's a great return on investment. I don't care what anybody says, and plus you're not wasting water. If you have a septic system, you're not stressing your septic system. You're not stressing your input side. There's a lot more. It's much broader than people realize as far as what the effects are of things like that. So, Johnny, we got
yeah.
anything else on this
No,
one?
it's things like that. I mean, it's I think we've thrown out some good suggestions. I mean, everybody out there, you can email us or whatever. Maybe you got some other things that you guys do that brings you in some money that we can share. It's even the plumbing, even O-rings, right? Carry around a bunch of O-rings with you. You never know.
Speaking of that, I carry around the Delta single faucet, their little like cap things with springs in them that seal the valves on them, right? Because
Yeah,
they don't, gosh, they're pennies. They're literally
yeah,
I don't know, they're 45, 50 cents. But if they're even that, I don't know. I bought a bulk box of them. I've had them for years, but they work, and you go in and the sink's dripping, you just pop that thing out, you pop that little
yeah,
gasket thingy out there, pop the new one in, voila,
yeah.
finished,
Incredible.
and I carry those just because if people say they've got a draining sink, I hate driving back and forth to that store. That to me, that's like, I hate it. I hate it. And it's why I try to do, especially for things like that are super common, because those are super, super common. It's just so worth it to carry that stuff on the truck, and you look good in front of the customer. When you come in and you have it on your truck, people are like, you have that on your truck? I'm like,
yeah.
Well, as people say, well, hell, what the hell don't you have on your truck, Larry?
Right.
But that's
for sure.
Like the Home Depot on wheels is my truck. But anyway, someday we should do a picture of my truck, John.
Clean it out before you show the audience. But yeah, I mean, it is those kind of things. But folks, if you have something, go ahead and send it to us. We'd love to know too. We'd love to know what you guys are doing out there.
I'm not going to say what the spaceship has on it for extra inventory parts, but
right.
Just because,
We've got some plumbing parts in it though, huh? So
that's what I was thinking.
All right. Well, this is kind of unusual because this show's going to drop in a couple of days. A little inside baseball. Larry and I do a couple of shows, maybe every whatever it is, right? Stack them up, but
not this time.
Not this time. Not this time. It's going to be pretty close. So
I guess sometime we could do a show. We could do the inside baseball show. Like what do you do on a podcast? What do you produce? I listen to several other podcasts, and some of them have done those, and it's kind of an interesting conversation. And I'm like, as being a podcaster, you're like, yeah, I get that. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I get that. Folks, this is not as easy. It's not that it's hard. Well, let's rephrase that. Our content just comes out of the field for us. So it's pretty simple for us to develop content. But I listened to several history podcasts, and those guys spend hours and hours and hours in research and documentation.
Yes.
And so they like to make 30 minutes, he spends about 40 hours total time in creating a 30-minute show. We spend about 38 minutes to produce a 30-minute show.
Yeah, right now we're right at 17 minutes, so it's like
actually that's not wholly true. We spend probably more than that. It just depends on the particular topics. But anyway,
it's kind of interesting. Like this topic here today, it just came to me just going about my business, going about the whole thing, business. And Once again, it's been an interesting last couple of weeks in this business, but so.
Yeah. Anyway. All right. With that, folks, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, if there's a particular topic you would like us to talk about, send us an email, questions@handymanprosradioshow.com. And we do put this stuff out. We are always looking for the comments. Our stuff, like I said, just comes from our experience out in the field, but we would welcome you to bring your experiences that you have either in your home, or if you're a handyman out that you've experienced out in the field. Either way, doesn't matter to us. We find the content, these kinds of real life contents, to be very, very valuable for most everybody, including ourselves. So we are still in this process of learning like everybody else, and we really, really enjoy it. So with that, Johnny, take us home.
All right, folks, make some extra money this week, and we will see you next time on the Handyman Pros Radio Show.